I also recall when I was in rehab treatment, there were guys that were 40, 50, 60 years old in there. I'll never forget it. One of them was a backup drummer for a big band, like a national band, and he lost his gig. He was out of the band and he was trying to get clean again. Another guy was an ex-vice president for American Express. He was there for smoking crack.
No way.
In his office, like complete train wreck.
Wow.
And I just remember looking and saying, this monster doesn't care how old I am, where I came from. It does not care about anything. It will ruin me. And I don't want to be 60 years old coming in here trying to piece life together again. That mattered. And I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
At that point, I thought, I'm going to give this a try the best I can.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Always Level Up the podcast. Today I have another amazing guest, Logan Fullmer. Logan is a father, he's an entrepreneur, he's a husband, he's an investor. I mean, this guy has done some amazing things in the space. So today he's gonna share his story on how he's been able to level up in his life, in his career, and continue to grow. So welcome, Logan. How you doing today?
Good, Carlos. I appreciate you having me. You and I have known each other for a long time, and I tell you this, I've always been impressed with you being a stable, level-headed, grounded guy who's very consistent. So I always enjoyed having that connection with you, and I appreciate you having me here.
Right on. Likewise, one of the things that I've admire about your growth in terms of, I don't know the full story of how Logan has leveled up, but I've seen your progression as an investor and going from flipping houses to building this awesome company that you have right now. It's been amazing to see, man, and I'm glad to have been able to witness it along the journey. So today I want you to let's start off with sharing a little bit about who is Logan Fullmer.
Logan, who's Logan? You said it best. Today, so I turned 43 this year. I think 42 or 43. 43.
We'll go with the lower number, right? 42.
Father of four, husband, business owner, fitness type enthusiast, I guess you could say.
Nice.
Recovered person. That's an important one too.
Right on.
That's kind of who I am today. I probably would best describe my role as like an opportunist.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
right
today.
On. Right on. So where did it start? Let's go to the beginning of your journey in terms of your growth, your personal growth, your leveling up. So where would you say that began?
Well, there's a debate is it your environment you grow up in or your genetics?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say it as eloquently as a lot of folks say it, but at the end of the day, are you made like that, or does it have a lot to do with where you came from and how you were shaped? Mm-hmm. I personally think it's a little bit of both, but I think a lot of it has to do with how you're made. What your genetics are, what my mom was like, what my dad was like. What I learned along the way helped some, but I grew up in a middle class household. My dad was a CPA, so he had a professional license.
Nice.
He wasn't a high producing professional in that regard. My mom was a sales manager and a realtor, so middle-class professionals basically.
Right.
Both had been to college though, and that was kind of expected of me. When I was a little younger, I guess I was fifth grade range, elementary school, my parents divorced. So that caused a huge divide. A middle-class household, when you have two breadwinners, you can get by just fine. We weren't missing meals, and we had new clothes when school came. Mm-hmm. No one was driving fancy cars or mansion type houses, none of that, but no problem paying the bills most of the time, the way I understand it. But when those two breadwinners split up and each has the head of their own household, financial troubles happen. So, that was a big theme in my life. And I can kind of see the way it works in my daughter now. So I'm starting to realize she's a lot like me, and I see how us today affects her. Right. And I'm understanding now why it affected me so heavily. Anyway, that was young. That was when I was young. But from that place, you grow up in a neighborhood of other folks that they have a little bit better financial situation than you do. I wanted that, and I thought that we should have had that because I had two professional parents.
Right.
But when you're living in substandard housing relative to those around you, and I'm in the honors classes, and my parents told me I had the the IQ and whatnot, but I was distracted by household stuff.
That situation created a lot of issues mentally and just like not understanding.
Yeah,
I was like, how does this happen?
You're looking inside. You're not looking at what you're supposed to be reading this book for class tomorrow. Pay attention to that stuff. I wasn't doing that at all. I was just tied up with the mess I had at home, and why is our house falling apart? Our household falling apart? Why do we have financial troubles? Am I as good as? I never thought it was my fault. A lot of kids say that, but the questions I had, it was a tough time. It was a really tough time, all over the place, as you can imagine. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was worthy, and then you start to have these esteem, confidence, and those kind of issues. So that was young life. I get into high school, and at that point, in my case, I started to develop maybe like a cocky attitude.
Right.
And a lot of folks believed I was confident and, really had it together there. And that was really the way my lack of confidence was presented on the outside. So I didn't feel like I looked weak, but it came out as cockiness. It was a bad mix. And at the time, you're 19, 18 years old, 17. You don't have the wisdom as we would today. So you can't tell that a lot of people really can see through the crap.
Right, yeah.
That's your survival mechanism, trying to get you on with life.
Yeah, you have this kind of this weight inside that you're carrying, and you're like, well, you don't want people to see, you emotional or fragile, so you have to, put your best foot forward, and with the most confidence you bring out, then people are going to portray you as, confident or successful or whatever it may be.
I will tell you, there was a fire inside though that I could identify. And I felt like I was capable of more or worthy of more. I had it, but until those things start to shape, you question that. Maybe I'm lying to myself. Maybe it's not really real, but I believe it.
Right.
That was the one thing I will say I did have from a very young age. Despite all the things that were happening, I did have that belief. And to me, I think that was kind of the foundation of every time when another level started to become reality and it became assumed. I think that was the seed for that.
Right. So, through high school, how did you, get through that time when, you were, trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I really want? What do I really want for myself? What's my life going to be like?
I have to say, as a child, I had a sibling, 2 siblings, brother and sister. Everybody says men mature slower than women. I didn't like to believe that because they said my sister was more mature. At this age, I see my kids and I completely understand that, boys are much slower to mature typically than girls.
Right.
And I believe that was really true for me. I think back, 18-year-olds can go to war.
Right.
At 18 years old, I had no clue. I didn't have focus. I didn't have the drive. I had a lot of insecurities, a lot of things going on, and I expected something to happen, but my focus was not there, and that's common, I was told to go to college. My parents both went. My grandparents had some money saved so that I could afford to go. I went to junior college the first 2 years. I didn't even take the SATs, so I'm kind of just doing the minimum. I did the minimum in school, did the minimum here.
Right.
And my friends all went off to mostly state schools, 4-year colleges. So I finally got into a college. I went to Southwest. It's Texas State today.
Right.
But the application was required a 2.5 GPA to get in. So my junior college grades got me in there. But I'll tell you, not much changed from high school to college. The difference is I now no longer had parents looking over me, and I had my own apartment.
Yeah.
And I had a job, so I had my own money. And you can imagine the first time a kid gets out of the parent household.
Freedom. I do whatever I want.
You did everything you wanted. I did everything I wanted.
Right.
And we had no more leash. So that leaves a path open for trouble.
Yeah.
And that's where I went. So what do? Drugs, alcohol, parties. Yeah. Trying to figure out how to make money. Some ways were ways that were acceptable, some ways that weren't. But if I thought that I could do it, not get caught, I'd do it. So that's the story of a lot of young males.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had some of that too. That's why I can connect to that.
Yeah, definitely can relate to that. It's when you're young and you need money and you're on your own.
And you got no skills.
And you have no discipline. And you have no discipline and no skills. Then it's
what
like,
you do?
I'm going to do whatever I can, right? I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go out there and, hey, wherever the opportunity sheds light, then I might try it. And I might find out the hard way if it was right or wrong.
Yeah.
But with that comes a lot of consequences, right? Yeah. A lot of consequences. So I know I've had my fair share. What were the ones that kind of made you get bonked on the head where it's like, okay, wake up.
Yeah, an analogy that's reasonable is when you see those cars driving in a movie and there's a brick on the gas pedal and the guy bails out of the car and the car's just going and it might go off a cliff. That's a really good analogy. There's no one at the wheel, and that's what was happening. There was gas, but there's no one at the wheel, man.
Right.
So I get out of college, and I'm still dealing with most of those things: the insecurities, the lack of self-esteem, the confidence problems. But at this point, I didn't get out of college until I was about 24 years old. So I stayed longer. I had trouble academically.
So you did graduate?
I did graduate from college with a business degree from Texas State, Southwest at the time.
Awesome. That's good.
At that point, I felt like, great, I got this card, this diploma, and I'm worth $100,000 a year. And I wasn't. I was worth, according to the market, about $35,000 a year.
That's how do you live off of that?
Today I wonder. At the time, I look back and remember I was negative or near negative, often in the bank account. I had no planning for the future. I mean, I pay more than that in taxes every quarter, and I look at different today.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, you wake up and you realize, like, man, okay, what's my purpose? Or maybe you do realize that, but it's like, what am I going to do with this degree? What am I going to do with my life? Like, how does that translate into success? And being able to find that correlation, it can be challenging. Some people don't ever find it.
You're right.
So how did you find your passion? How did you find your purpose in this?
I had a couple employers. I always worked since I was about 16 years old because I needed the money, car, clothes, things like that. I had 2 employers that were really influential. I learned a lot from them about the time I was getting done with junior college.
Where were you working?
I worked at, the first job was at a bike shop.
Okay.
And then I was a mechanic and sales guy. And then the second one, I worked at a tanning store.
Okay.
And both of those were like small business owners, came from nothing. They built really good middle America businesses, stable lifestyles. I was so impressed with them. They were both very eccentric, but it was a great learning experience for me. So I kind of went through that, I learned a lot of business sense from them in a way. But I always recall asking folks I would meet in those jobs, folks who would come into the bike shop with $3,000 racing bikes. I knew they had money. So I'd ask them questions. How did you get here? What's your path like? And what was frustrating to me is there was no path. Every single one of them had this strange journey that was all over the place. And I remember walking away from some of those experiences thinking, you didn't help me. I got nothing out of this.
Yeah. Hey, it should be point A, point B. Like, give me the straight line.
Right. A lot like you were talking about earlier. You're looking for, what is it I need? You thought education should get me that. I'm going to go get that. But what's next? Like, there was, the path wasn't there. My dad, in my opinion, wasn't great in terms of leadership for kids. And I didn't want that. I didn't want to be what he was anyway, or who he was. So I didn't have that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of tough too, because I remember, when I was younger myself and asking my mom, hey, what should I do? She's like, just get a job. Work anywhere. I'm like, I don't like that advice. I need to go figure this out.
That's part of why today I feel like leadership, me and my wife have 4 kids, and we talk all the time about business, work, money, life, relationships, people, and we're trying to arm them so that they have the tools when they get out there. We can't give them the path, but we can really help them understand what's going on. And that really influenced us today. So that's how I got it, a lack of having that guidance when I was young. But it didn't help at all that I didn't have it. But I did have to figure that out. I think that's where that spark happened internally, and it really kind of at least had some sort of line for me to follow. Getting out of college that's when things started to happen meaningful. I worked for a relative of mine who was selling heavy equipment to the oil field. So that was nice. I enjoyed that job. I learned some good stuff there. I then moved that was in East Texas. So I then moved into Houston and was working with a commercial broker. So I learned some real estate there. And I did start to understand that most wealthy people had some real estate.
Okay.
They owned it, they traded it, they were involved.
All right, there's something there. Something about this real estate thing that people become wealthy when they're in the business.
And they're big numbers, you know? So that was meaningful to me. Still at that point, I'm bringing along the childhood problems. I hadn't gotten out of those yet. And my father got really sick. So I went back home to take care of him, which was really good timing because, the lifestyle stuff, the drugs and the alcohol were really starting to take a toll on me.
Were they habits? Like,
oh, they were habits.
Yeah.
They were habits that I had to go somewhere for several months to get help to get out of those habits.
Habits, addictions, yep.
They were the personal problems that I had. I was using alcohol and drugs to cope with them, and the alcohol and drugs started to take over my life, and I didn't have any more control. They had control, and I was completely powerless.
Yeah.
So my family said, you need to go to rehab. I'd been told that a lot for the prior 10 years.
Yeah.
I didn't listen. There was some major life events. At that point, I had to listen.
Yeah.
But that was huge. That was one of the first times in my life where I had no responsibilities. I didn't have to pay any bills. I literally had to get out of bed, go to the first meetings in the morning, brush my teeth, eat, take naps, go to more meetings, talk about my feelings and learn about recovery, and go to sleep.
Yep.
And it was really like a vacation from life as a 27-year-old man.
Wow. Yeah.
I got no money. I'm literally worth negative net worth.
Yeah.
So I get out of rehab and go home to live with my dad because at this point I got no money, no apartment. I got nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who's going to hire me. This is the first time I've been sober and clean since I was probably 17.
Wow.
So it was...
Man, that's 10 years. That's 10 years of going through that battle.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So life kind of started for me then. Now that wasn't when I actually got sober.
Yeah.
That was the first shot at it. And I took care of my dad there. Tried to get sober a couple more times after that. It took a couple years for it to finally take. I remember at that point, I got an opportunity to go work in the oil field. A friend of mine from college who had kind of gotten his life cleaned up then, come work here. And I never made more than $40,000 a year working random jobs. I get out there and I'm terrified at this point. I've been sober like 3 months, and it's the longest that I've had since I was 17, 16 years old. So I'm kind of holding on. I'm white knuckling it.
Yeah.
And he says, come to work in the oil field. You can make $70,000 starting out. Double what I've ever made.
I'm listening.
Right. More than I've ever made. I'm sober for the moment, and I'm scared as shit. I don't know if my skills are even good enough for this job, but I got a shot.
Right.
So he offers me the job. I'm literally packed up my bag and gone in 2 days down to South Texas. And that was one of the first times in life where no one knew who I was. They didn't know who Logan Fullmer as a kid was. They didn't know the Logan Fullmer that had all these struggles. But they knew I was a guy that had a fresh haircut, clean clothes, and I was there to do whatever they said.
Right.
So that would be the first time where, when we were talking about earlier, life trajectory is going downwards. There's a time where the downward fall starts to level out and maybe a turnaround happens.
Yeah. So either one or two things are going to happen.
Right.
You either turn it up or, you know how the other one goes.
Yeah.
So what was it that made you get sober? Like what clicked? It's because I know that's a battle for a lot of people.
It is.
It really is, because the habits can be so strong and it's really tough to break them. But there has to be a certain point of where like that will just kicks in. Like, I have to do this. Like, what was it for you?
2 parts. One of them, it's cliche. You hear this in recovery circles. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yep.
For 10 years, things didn't work, and I was flat out sick of it.
Right.
I knew that. I also recall when I was in rehab treatment, there were guys that were 40, 50, 60 years old in there. I'll never forget. One of them was a backup drummer for a big band, like a national band, and he lost his gig. He was out of the band, and he was trying to get clean again. He was in his mid-30s. Another guy was an ex-vice president for American Express. He was there for smoking crack.
No way.
In his office, like complete train wreck.
Wow.
And I remember looking at guys like that. There were also guys that were homeless that wound up here too. And I just remember looking and saying, this monster doesn't care how old I am, where I came from. It does not care about anything. It will ruin me. And I don't want to be 60 years old coming in here trying to piece life together again. That mattered. And I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
At that point, I thought, I'm going to give this a try the best I can.
Yeah.
So those 2 things really mattered.
So you were able to take a look into the future and see, that could be me. Do I want that?
Those thoughts only started happening about 3 or 4 weeks after being in treatment and being sober. Your brain doesn't start clicking like it's supposed to for a while.
It's rewiring itself. It's like trying to get all the the feelings out of the way, where you're like, the cravings and all those things, and then once you get past that, then you're like,
now I got to deal with life on life's terms.
Yeah.
I have a bad day. I can't go get high.
Yeah.
How do I deal with this? Like, that was tough. It was a lesson growing up. What I do believe, what I took out of the rehab and the AA and all that treatment, it's really teaching us life skills. If you remove all the alcohol or drug words and connections out of there, it's really how to be a big boy.
Right. How to be a grown-up 101.
Yeah. So I'm a huge
That's
believer
true.
of that program.
Yeah.
But at that point, life is interesting. I got this job in the oil field making 70 grand. No one knows who I am. And at this point, I say, I moved away from my old town, which mattered because I didn't have those people. Even if I wanted to go score or fall off the wagon, I didn't know who to call, where to go.
Yeah.
And it would take several hours for me to make calls and drive there. And that barrier was as big as 1,000 miles. It was big.
So this was perfect for you.
Perfect.
The perfect environment. May not have been the job that you wanted, but hey, I can make more money. I'm totally separated from this lifestyle or these sources that would contribute to a destructive lifestyle. So now it's a blessing in disguise right here. Like, here we go. Like, now you get to transform, right? Now you get to reinvent yourself.
So that's when the what's the moth? No. What's the butterfly before? Before it's a butterfly?
Well, I was gonna say cocoon. Is it a cocoon?
When the butterfly comes out as cocoon, that's that time for me.
Right.
I remember going there, looking at these adults that after they weren't much brighter than me, they weren't much harder working than me, not much older than me actually, but they were higher up in the company. And I remember seeing if they can do it, I can do it.
There you go.
I'm not going to argue about anything. I've never gotten paid this kind of money. I don't care if I work 7 days a week. This is better than I've ever expected.
Right.
So I would work 6-7 days a week when they would let me. If they would, sometimes I was making. They got to a point where I was like doing assistant work for some of the general managers and vice presidents. Wasn't my role, but they learned they could count on me after time. I'm doing secretary. Sometimes the vice president was busy and he said, I got to take a flight to Midland tomorrow, book me a flight. I'm finding flights for this guy. Is it below my pay grade? Heck yes. Do I care? Heck no. I just want to give as much hard work and value. And at this point, none of that matters to me. I'm here for y'all. Y'all are paying me and changing my life. Let me do whatever it is y'all want.
Man, that's going the extra mile. That's the principle of success, man. You went the extra mile as much as you could. Right. You went more than the extra mile. You went the extra 2, 3, 4 miles. So that right there is what starts to open up doors.
Today in our company, sometimes folks tell me, well, that's not my job, or I'm not being paid for that. And I go back to the oil field and say, I'll never ask you to do something that I've never done myself.
Right.
When I went to that work, they were buying 40 hours of my time. I gave them 50. I'm not asking you for that, but I'm buying 40 hours of your time. I need you to do whatever it is I need you to do. And it might not be on your job description, but if you want to get somewhere in this company, you're going to do what I did back then. You make the choice, do it or not. I let them do their thing.
Right on.
But it is a time where I spot that today and say, you get to pick. And I remember what I picked and what it did for me. So I spent about 4, almost 5 years working there. Started out making about 70 grand a year. My last year was about $170,000 or $80,000.
Nice.
That was life changing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely, right? You go from 30 to 70, then you're doubling up again. And you know, I think at that point you're probably having some experience of success and you're like, okay, I feel good, I have money, I'm changed, right? So how do you handle it?
Yeah. I'm scared. I'm like white knuckling, driving that car. Remember earlier on, I used the reference that you're driving a car and you're not driving the car. There's the, rock on the gas pedal and it's going without you. In this case, I'm driving. I'm in full control, but I'm white knuckling it because this is big to me. So now after this amount of work time, I've got more confidence. I've learned a lot of good things. I'm very valuable in terms of project management. I've gotten better at dealing with people. I'm being a servant to the folks that I work for and with, and I've got money saved in my bank account, like cash at this point, several $100,000 in cash. Part of what I missed earlier in the conversation is I inherited quite a bit of money during that 10-year drug run. And during a section of that, I didn't work anymore. I bought a house, a Porsche, a King Ranch truck, and a bunch of drugs. And that money, I spent all of it in the course of a couple years.
Wow.
So, you go from making 30, 40 grand a year to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account and then burn it all again. Those are more experiences. This time I got a couple $100,000 in my bank account, and I know I've worked really hard for 4 years to get this. And I blew multiples of that back in a couple year drug run.
Yeah, I think that's very important because a lot of times people say, if I just had X amount of dollars, I'd be fine. And the reality is you may not be fine if you don't have discipline, if you don't have purpose, if you've never felt pain in a way where like, no, I know I'm going to make some good decisions with this money because I know I've made bad decisions.
Yeah.
You know, and so a lot of times people think, oh, that person's lucky. But it's like, no, you don't know the price that I had to pay because of what I had and what that did to your life, and then the suffering that came after.
If you're buying drugs and just getting by, imagine you get, $600-700 dumped in your pocket. Imagine this is sad, but this is what you think. Think about how many drugs I can buy now.
Yeah.
That's what happens, not think about a business I can start.
Right.
Think about how I can invest it. Think about what I can do with it.
Well, and the problem with that is that mentally, you're probably not in the state of mind to even run a business in that way, right? Because even if you did start a business, the habits are going to take you off the rail at some point, you know? So I think it's one of those necessary evils where you have to go through it and just feel it, and then you can actually start making some better decisions down the line. So
absolutely.
So we're at that point. Okay, I messed it up back then. I'm gonna do it better this time.
Yeah.
How did it go?
So this is when life got really fun.
Okay.
Got some time under my belt, head's working, got a little bit of confidence built up now. And I remember thinking, I want to make this money work for me in a way that is safe because it takes me so long to get there. And one of the first rules of investing is never risk principal. Well,
what does that mean?
Just never risk the capital that you have. That's your principal, your original investment. You can make money and you can risk some other things, but you can't risk that original principal. So you have to have an investment that has some coverage and safety on your original investment. And not everybody thinks that way, but it is it's a big mantra in investing.
Gotcha.
So in that case, I thought, okay, I worked so hard to get this. I want to invest it and make money, but I don't want to risk the original investment. Maybe I'll do the investment and not make any money, but I want the original back. So I recall watching east side of Austin, some parts of Houston during my times there, and I recall seeing those areas develop, east side of Austin, for example.
Right.
So I'm coming to San Antonio on the weekends now, still working in the oil field, and I come to the east side of town, and I see these vacant lots. 1 in 5 tracts of land were vacant at the time, and they were valued on the tax rolls for about $5,000. 5,000 square foot up to a 30,000 square foot lot, about $5,000 a piece.
That sounds pretty cheap.
Yeah, now you know what the east side is now, so you know.
That's a deal.
This was 2014-15 range.
Right.
And I remember thinking, okay, the east side of Austin blew up.
Right.
You're downtown San Antonio, literally the moment, and it's high value.
Right.
The moment you cross the highway, the value plunges.
Right.
And I think, if the value crosses a highway, this stuff's gonna be worth a ton. If it doesn't, does it go down in value?
Yeah.
Probably not.
How close to you are you at zero, right?
You're only $5,000 for a lot to build a house on.
It's not going to go down much less than that.
So I remember looking at the tax rolls, and you can go back in our county, Bexar County, you can look at 5 years back on the tax roll.
Right.
So I look at those and see that the value has been, it's like $5,750 or something like that. Literally the same for the last 5 years. I think, okay, if I put my money in these lots, my downside risk is probably very low.
Right.
I can probably find someone to buy them from me for what I paid.
Right.
But the upside opportunity could be huge if things really change over here.
Right. Never risk the principal, right?
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Gotcha.
Downside risk, very small. Upside opportunity, very big.
Nice. So you started capitalizing on lots. That was the first move?
That was it. I didn't know really, I didn't want to manage rental properties, anything like that, but I still have this job. So I start coming every couple weekends to San Antonio, and I didn't have any software programs, and things weren't as available as they were. Teaching wasn't as available on the internet about real estate investing as it is today.
Right.
So I'm looking on the tax office on my computer, making a list of addresses, going and knocking on the doors and seeing if they'll sell their lot. They say yes. I call my mom, who's a realtor. I'm like, hey, Mom, they said they'll sell it. I guess I need one of those contracts.
You mind drawing one up for me?
So, yeah, she helped me write the first one. And I started buying these for between $5,000 and $10,000 a piece.
Nice.
So I'd gotten, it took a couple years. I ended up with about, almost 2 dozen.
Nice.
And at this point, I made $200-300 in the oil field. And I pretty much had spent everything on those lots. And I got sick of traveling. Finally, I'd been there for a while, and I'd been working in the local office. They let me locate in San Antonio and not travel anymore for this company. But at this point, price of about 2015-16 range, the pricing pressure on the barrel of oil really got bad, which means that hurt. We were building pipelines and facilities. I had to lay off 300 people, and then I got laid off.
Wow. Like, all right, everybody's fired.
Right.
Logan, you're fired too.
Is the worst.
Like, dang.
Yeah.
That was secure.
It's kind of shocking. You know, I had at that point a bunch of these vacant lots, about 20 grand in my bank account.
Right.
And at this point, I'm living real frugally. My living expenses are low. I knew I could get by for a while.
So you had $20K in the bank. You own
A couple dozen lots.
Yeah, so almost $300,000 worth of lots, which is a very smart move, right? You're putting like, I'm gonna put all my money here. You're focusing that concentrated effort into this investment strategy, and now you're like, all right, I know that I at least have 300 grand right there at the very least, right? So it's like, now the next move, since you had your job, you know, you was cut off, and now you're like all in real estate.
So for context, we go back 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm just getting clean and sober, going to get a job in the oil field. I have a negative net worth, or maybe break even at this point. I have nothing.
Right.
You know, here we are 4 or 5 years later. I got a couple months worth, several months at that time of my life, 5 months worth of living expenses, 6 months worth of living expenses, and a bunch of vacant land. I get a call from a local realtor who says, right about the time of getting laid off, and says he wants to buy for his client one of those vacant lots for $200,000. And so many things
Let
happen.
me think about that.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where there's no question I'm going to sell it, but I've now recovered 2/3 of the investment in this portfolio. I know that. I also know now I have more living expenses, so I can get going. I'm not worried about cash.
Right.
And also let me know, I hadn't been watching the market for real estate, but it told me that all that land I'd been buying at $5,000 and $10,000 a piece was now worth substantially more.
Right.
So at this point, I realized, okay, I might be a real estate dude.
Now it's starting to come around.
Yep.
So how long did you hold those lots before you actually sold the first one?
2-3 years.
Man, okay, that's good. That's good to know.
I'd love to say that I was like brilliant and I could plan it and I could go see this again, but that's not the truth.
Right.
I knew that they were cheap. It was a good time to enter. I knew the market wasn't super strong. I didn't understand that, but I had no way how to plan the future. Most people.
Right.
But I did get lucky. I did buy them at the right time, and the market was rewarding very quickly, and it was pure luck. Well, now, if I wouldn't have pushed my chips all in, I wouldn't have won the bet.
Right. Exactly. Well, and I think that takes a certain level of discipline, because, you know, a lot of times they can have this set of cash and they're like, well, you know what? I'm only going to invest a little bit here, and then I'm going to go spend a little bit over there and spend a little bit over here, you know, to buy the nice house. And, you know, they don't position themselves in a way to win in their investment. So by you making that decision to be disciplined with your money and park it in this place where you're just like, okay, I think it's a good place to place a bet. But the fact that you sat on it for a few years, you know, also is another thing that a lot of people will miss, because people want the instant gratification.
True.
I want it now. Can I flip this? Can I turn this around in 30, 60, 90 days? And they're like, yeah, you could. Would you make 1,000? Would you make 2,000? Possibly. But if you sit a little bit longer, the value could substantially increase, which is exactly what you saw on just one of them. And I can only imagine how the other one shook out.
Yeah, a lot like that. Yeah. You know, yeah, I mean, for context, that was a meaningful time in my life, because I realized I'm going to take a stab at this real estate thing. I have some runway in terms of money. Now, for more context, I'm still living in an apartment that costs me about $1,000 a month. I got $200,000 in cash in my bank account and a bunch of land, but my truck's paid off, and I got this apartment that's low cost. And I really wanted to keep it like that, because I still didn't know what the future looked like. Right about that time, I meet this girl at a title company. I'm thinking, what's going on here? It's a little awkward now, because this is the first like real serious, meaningful relationship that I've had since I've been sober. I dated some, but this got serious. And again, some of these insecurities started to creep back into my life. At this age, I'm like 30, early 30s. And I'm meeting this girl, and all the other guys my age that I grew up with have houses, have families, maybe a couple cars. I just saw one of them buy a boat the other day. And I'm like this dude with a truck living in an apartment. You know, I don't feel like I'm balling.
Yeah, I got a bunch of land, but
yeah, in the hood. You know, at this point, it starts to shake up a little bit of those early Logan Fullmerism, fear, scare, worry thing. So that was a whole new place in my life where I'm gonna have to figure out how to deal with a woman in a way that is good and healthy. Because a lot of that in the past wasn't healthy.
Right. So how did you do it? Like what was it? What was it about her? You know, what was it about her that you know that connected you, where you're like, hey, this might be something.
You know, there was somebody doing some work behind the scenes that really pieced us together at the right time. It couldn't have worked any better. She was in a time in her life where some things in her life were kind of not what she'd hoped they'd been. She's kind of coming out of a bad, long relationship. And her employment situation was fresh and new and not real stable for her at the time. Finance wasn't strong either. But she was nice to me. She was pretty. And she was really easy to deal with. And I hadn't done a good job at picking partners in the past.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I wanted this alpha woman.
Right.
But I would fight with them all the time. And when I met her, I didn't see alpha in her, but we didn't fight.
That's key.
You've been married a long time, have a lot of kids.
Right.
And you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know... You know, when you have a relationship with somebody that you're constantly at war with, you know, where's room for love, right? There's no room for love. Like you know, you have to have somebody that
it's always raining.
Yeah, man. You have to have somebody that's going to be that sunshine, right? That's going to be that positivity. That's going to nudge you in the right direction. That's going to encourage you, you know, and that's like one of the principles of success in terms of like the mastermind alliance. Is they say the most important mastermind alliance that you'll ever have is with the woman that you marry.
Oh, wow.
You know?
It's powerful.
It's so true. Because that woman will either make you or break you. You know? And when you get the right woman with a loving heart, man, that makes the world of a difference.
You have the love, you have the support, and you have a partner. Because at the end of the day, winning is great, but if you don't win with a team or with a partner, it's half as good.
That's exactly right. Someone to share the experiences with, right?
Yeah.
It's not fun doing it all alone. Like, look at me, I'm by myself in my great house.
Yeah.
Like, no, man, look at me and my wife, and we're actually having a great time together, you know, making each other laugh and smile and, you know, enjoying the fruits of the labor. So that's awesome that you get to that point. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't know it would be what it is now, but so
I would say
how did that
hindsight's
go?
2020.
Yeah.
You know, I know today now, but at that point, again, my mind is becoming so much more clear because I'm clean, I'm sober, I've got some good work experience, I'm building the confidence. Now I meet this gal, and I'm nervous and terrified, and I'm working real hard to keep Logan just in balance and do well, but it goes well. So that's another, I had to rise to that occasion because this is the time, and I firmly believe there was a reason it happened, when and how it did, and that was the time for me to, you know, prove up. Like, all right, you big boy today, you ready for this? This is your opportunity.
There you go.
So that was big.
Yeah.
So at that point we met, you know, we started to get serious, but I had to manage through all the stuff about I'm nervous, you know, I'm not that successful really compared to a lot of people. The underdog in me is still like, keep going, Logan, come on.
Yeah.
But we have a great relationship. Things work really well. You know, now we're married, have a bunch of kids and stuff today. So that's where that that trajectory went.
Yeah, that worked out.
Yeah.
That was a good decision.
That took, yeah. And the real estate part, you know, the next thing is, how do I make money in this whole business? You see home builders, you see house flippers, you see big, rich real estate people, but now you're faced with a new challenge. How do they actually make money in real estate?
Yeah.
So I'd done that, but I couldn't duplicate that. I couldn't go buy more land and sell it to somebody else for more money than I paid. Like, that equation doesn't work because I don't have the way to compress the time.
Right.
Time is what did the work with the market, and I can't recreate that and compress it. So now, how do I do that?
Well, that was good that you saw that. Like, okay, hold on. This isn't sustainable in this way, so I need to find a way to make this a career, right? To make a living off of it. So what did you do?
So I bought a couple flip houses.
Okay.
You know, I borrowed some money from some guys, private lender type guys.
Right.
Flipped a couple of houses, make $15,000, $25,000, you know, couple month projects. And that was really neat to do that. That was a good start. I had a guy loan me some money one time through a friend of his, and at the end of the project, I lost money. I had to come to the closing table with a bunch of cash, like $40,000-$50,000 in cash.
Dang.
It was a big project. I overspent on it, and I didn't know.
So it was a flip house?
It was a remodel in an
Okay.
expensive neighborhood here, and I paid more than I should have. The remodel cost more than I thought, and it sold for less than I expected. So each part of the budget was on the wrong end. So I had to come to the table to make the lender whole with like, it was like $47,000 or something, which that really hurt. And that also told me, did you screw this up? Did something else happen? What are you gonna do about it? And the guy that hooked me up with that private lender said, "You've done a good job, man. You repaid this guy. Most people will skate. Like you built a great project." Yeah. So he said, "You want me to show you how to make real money?" And I was like, about time somebody in my life shows me the fucking path.
Yes, I've been looking for you.
Let's go.
Timing, but it's timing, right?
Absolutely.
Timing's right, because now you have, not only do you have experience, you have your sobriety, you have your discipline, right? And you have a family, you have, the things that are going well for you. So it's like, now's the time you can handle the responsibility, seems like.
Now's the time. Well, what mattered to me is someone like this who helped me borrow $500,000 from a private investor, from some dude who's generally inexperienced. That person had a lot of confidence in me. These folks trusted me. They like my work ethic. This is where the real confidence that happens today, that's really different today, that started to build incrementally. Even though I lost money on the deal, the respect that I got from those people and the business that I started to build with one of them was a big deal. So he and I went to the foreclosure auction, and we bought houses for the next 2 years. And we'd go buy this house for 40, 50, 60,000 and write for sale by owner and put my cell phone number and put 20,000 above what we paid on it, go stick that sign in the yard the day after we bought it.
There you go.
And we make 10, 20, 30,000 bucks flipping foreclosures on the MLS.
Right.
So this is a new thing. No construction work, no house flipping, and I'm making money, and it's happening more often. That was when I would say it became I won't call it a business yet, but I'll say it was a competency. It was a job that I had that was like, I was an operator,
Yeah, it was a hustle, right?
It was a straight hustle.
You had to get out there, hustle. You're going to go take some risk.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to minimize the risk because we're going to buy the cheap properties.
Well, at this time too, so I did this with him a couple times, and I said, "Look, man, I got some land, I got a little bit of cash, but I don't have as much money as you do." And he said, "I'll tell you what." He was a partner at a CPA firm. He said, "I got the money, you got the time. Let's put that together." So he taught me how to look at the foreclosures, vet them, drive around, make sure the building wasn't burned down, go to the auction and figure out how to find the trustee and buy it and pay and get
Look for the numbers that are going up.
Bingo. So he taught me all that. I was really thankful. We did that for a couple years, and our books were a mess. He was a CPA, and he said, "Man, Logan, I'm keeping track of all this in a spreadsheet. Let's just start a company. Do you want to keep doing this?" And the company that I own today, I still own it 50-50 with him.
Nice.
So that's the company that does all this business.
Which company
today.
is this? Is this
Alamo City Urban? ARP is our brand.
The ARP, yeah.
ARP is the brand. That is the origin of that company.
Nice.
So that was a new time, his responsibility that I had to deliver to him. It was, I'm gonna be my own boss of my own self in a way.
Yeah.
So that was
now you're I guess not a big boy, you're a man now.
Right, yeah.
You're graduating again.
Yeah.
Let's level up, baby.
Yeah, that was a big time.
Right.
From then, so when you put it into perspective, that was 2016. So we're 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 7 years ago.
That's awesome. So you went from buying land, investing in land, capitalizing, winning in that bet.
Yeah.
Now you're like, okay, I'm going to essentially start buying houses at the auction and wholesale them on the MLS, cash out, quick flips. Now I'm making a living in real estate.
Boom. Another common thread among these, if you think about it, when I'm buying the distressed property from the auction, my basis is low. I'm probably buying as cheap as you're going to get it. So the odds of me losing money on one of those, again, is very low.
Right.
But did I make money the moment I bought it? I can get it out on the market. So the neat thing here is I'm buying the property today for less than it's worth today. I'm getting equity from the beginning. The first set of work I did where I was buying all the vacant lots, I bought it and the time did the work for me.
Right.
In this case, I'm buying it for less than it's worth. So personally, I prefer the new model, even though I would like to replicate the old one. This is neat because it's repeatable. You can do it forever. And you have to find your entry point to do that. But that's something you can do immediately and recognize immediately instead of letting time do the work. Your skill can do the work.
And then you can scale it.
Yeah.
That's when it gets fun, right?
So from 7 years from then till today, my office has 23 people in it today. Got CPA, lawyer, operations manager, a couple partners, and then a lot of sales folks, and a project manager and a maintenance manager.
So you built a whole business.
Yeah.
You built a whole business behind it. And so that, when you got into that, you know, I know a lot of times people can get into the business and, you know, there's some things that are challenging, right? When you buy these houses, sometimes you buy them, you have to do some evictions, you know, there's things that come with it, right? But you have to have a certain type of grit, certain type of stomach to be able to deal with those type of things, you know?
Yeah.
You know, what was it that kept you going no matter what challenges that you face along the way?
Truthfully, after I got to the point where I would make $100,000 a year, you can live like a king on that, man.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of debt in my household, so I still live. I live off a little bit more than that, but not a ton. Our lifestyle is pretty comfortable for that. When I got to that point, I realized above that to me is sport. It's a game, and I really started to love it. So I was looking for some of these real messy problems to get a really good return. Yes, I wanted the money, but I'm not going to go buy a helicopter. I'm not going to go move to the Minion and buy one of those mansions probably.
Yeah.
This is sport. I want to earn the money, put it back in the business, hire some more people, get a bigger project, and it's a chess match. It's a game.
Yeah.
That's when it really got fun to me, and it was less about the fear that used to drive me, that was what drove me originally.
Right.
That was no longer present. The lack of confidence, the esteem was no longer present. I realized I'd become competent. I believed and trusted myself. Others did too. And I used that to get folks on board. But the business at that time really grew into a really fun thing for me.
Right. And I think that's exactly what it's about. You know, anytime I've had the most success or experienced it's because I was having fun doing it. So when you're loving what you do, no matter how hard it gets, you're like, all right, let's figure this out. Let's find a solution, right? Let's be strategic. And then when you do accomplish that, it's like, boom, win. There we go.
I hear folks say don't lead with the money, you know, lead with something that you like or enjoy or is fun, things like that. You know, early on I struggled with that concept because ultimately I got into it because I thought I was going to make some money. And that was a lot of the early drive. You know, at this point it's a puzzle, it's fun, it's a game. And if you play the game right and you make good moves and good decisions, you're going to make a lot of money. So the concepts have definitely changed. But today I don't have to lead with the money. I've learned that the better business you build, the more money you're going to get out of it.
Right. Yeah, because of your skills that you're going to be able to apply, and then the people that you're going to be able to attract. When you put money first, and you know, sometimes people will sacrifice, you know, certain values to get it, right? And when you have boundaries, and you're like, no, it's not. Like, here's the game, here are the rules, and I play by the rules, and I play the game, and I play to win. And you know, when I win, you know, yes, money is a byproduct of it, you know, and then just recycle it and get it back in there and go at it again.
I will tell you, another level, I guess, in that arena would be solving the big real estate problems that I started to encounter. Pre-foreclosures had a lot of title problems, figuring out how to resolve ownership disputes, finding property that folks had a hard time valuing and figuring out how to do that. That was a new skill and a big challenge. I spent probably 3 or 4 years after the foreclosure projects that I did, really figuring out how to deal with these kind of issues, because most investors want things cheap, easy, and fast.
Right.
They want to get a good deal, it needs to be simple, and they don't want to wait around for it.
Yeah.
Well, the messy problems in real estate, folks don't want to deal with them. They want to kick them off and move them to somebody else, and you'd be surprised they're laying around everywhere.
Right.
And after doing a couple of those, you know, like I told you, I couldn't go back and recreate buying land and holding. I needed to find things now. When I was buying the foreclosure properties, I was buying them for less than they were worth. So the next time, a technical skill had to be developed. And it didn't happen intentionally, but it started to happen when I had a couple messy files. They had multiple owners and a bunch of title problems, old judgments and liens that hadn't been released, breaks in the title chain, meaning there's a missing deed from the title chain, a gap.
Yep.
I'd solve those, and I realized I could buy some real estate for a lot less than it was worth that moment. So if I rented it, I'd get an exceptional return, better than everybody else. Or I could resell it immediately, and it was very liquid, and I could make some profit right then. And that concept has been probably one of the more consistent ones throughout the rest of the real estate business since then.
Because now you see this window of opportunity, which has also probably eliminated competition all the way around, because most people are running from it. Hairy title, I don't want to deal with it. You know, oh, they got 20 heirs that I got to go find, and yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna find them. Let's move on. Let's terminate the contract. Move on. Like, hey, Logan, I'll take that one.
That's right.
I'll go back and get it.
They say one man's trash is another man's treasure, and this is a perfect example of that.
That's right. That's right. Well, and I think that's awesome because what I've learned in real estate too is you have to find your angle. When you can find your angle and you can find where you have the least amount of competition, that's where you really start to win. So it's just a whole nother mindset and a whole nother switch that you can flip, but you have to be looking for it.
Yep.
You have to be looking for it. I think that's part of what you were looking for, right? How can I compress what I did in land and still, or even at the auction in this way where I can, still get good deals. And so you're finding multiple ways to do this and still, keep winning and solve problems. Because at the same time, you're helping people who are in these situations. There's people that own the property. They're trying to figure out how to get rid of it and get paid on the deal. So, here you go. I'm the solution. I'll help you out. And then it's win-win.
That's right. I would say that is still a consistent theme across most of these deals that I still do. And today I'll do a warehouse deal. I'm doing a 250 lot subdivision up in Buda, just on the south side of Austin right now.
Okay.
I buy office buildings, apartments, things like that, big assets.
Yeah.
And they all have a common thread. There's something wrong. There's a problem. There's a dispute between the owners. There's something going on. Mm-hmm. Or the person who's selling it doesn't realize what opportunity exists in it. Those two things are where my entry point usually are.
Right. Exposing those opportunities and being able to capitalize them because of your effort and your willingness to learn, something new and get outside your comfort zone as well. There's a lot of people like, I don't understand that. I don't even want to try. I'm out. So, you're like, hey, I'll figure this out. There's a solution to everything.
That's a big theme. When I got out of the old job that I had when I got laid off, the next thing was, how am I going to figure this out? Mm-hmm. And to me, at that point, you get some confidence built, you believe in yourself a bit, and you say, how am I going to do this? And I really spent the last 7 or 8 years trying to figure problems out, solve a real estate equation or whatnot. And these days, it's a hiring equation for some employees, a procedural or technical equation for the sales folks, or something of that sort. It's usually an organizational problem now.
Right.
But they all support, all the work in the real estate that's happening on the ground now through those folks.
Right on. And so as you look for solutions, what is it that, or like, how do you go about figuring it out, so to speak, right? So there's probably people out there that like, I'm trying to figure out, but I don't know how to figure out. I don't know where to start. Like, like where do you go when you're figuring something out? Is it just like trial and error, or do you do some research?
Yes,
a little bit of both?
Yes. Yeah, the way I started to figure these problems out is the first couple of problems that I had with title. Property would go into escrow and the title commitment would come back, and there's all these issues. Schedule C was this long instead of this long, and Schedule C includes items to cure or provide prior to closing, so that the underwriter will underwrite the title insurance policy and close the deal. And I started going to lawyers' offices that I'd get referred to through the title company. They'd say, Logan, you have title problems here, call this lawyer. So I'd call the lawyer and go pay him by the hour and sit in his office and ask him questions. And I found that the law wasn't as clear cut as I thought. It's a bunch of black and white words on this page, but there's a lot more context. There's a lot more space in there to make things work. So I started to get creative with these attorneys, and I would tell him, here's the problem. And he'd say, well, you could do this. I'm like, but if that doesn't work, what about this? And he'd say, well, that might work. Let me go check the law. And he'd look at that, and he'd say, that won't work. I'm like, well, what about this? And then he'd call his buddy who's an attorney or a judge, and it was this troubleshooting process. And after doing that, I spent a lot of money doing that, actually. I was willing to invest the money in their time because I knew they were experts, but I knew that I could figure things out pretty well. So with their guidance and my creative input, that's where solutions started to happen in these problems that a lot of folks didn't want to fix.
Right.
So that helped me understand, like, there's a process in this area here, but it still took that little seed that says, hey, something's going to happen. It's going to work. Let's figure this out. That still always had to exist.
Talking about your social media and finding value in social media, what was it that got you turned on to that?
I remember talking about what we were doing as a way to tell other people. I started to realize networking mattered. We'd go to the auctions and I'd talk to folks and learn a little bit of how to make money on this deal, or just start to experience real estate through others. So I started talking about it on social media. We'd go buy a house, or I spent a lot of time door knocking pre-foreclosures. And I don't know what caused me to want to do it, but I remember taking a picture like on the cross street of the east side somewhere and put door knocking foreclosures today. I just started to share what was happening. It was interesting. A lot of folks would comment, would send me messages, would talk to me about it. And I found it was a way to get the message of me and my business and what I was doing out to build network. And over time, I started to see what I would call inbound leads. Someone would call me with a deal, or they'd call me with, once I started talking about solving problems, they would call me with problems.
This guy got answers.
Yeah. You know, when you look at how that was the seed at that point, and the more you do something, the more you learn about it, and kind of that grows on itself. And today, one of my business partners came from social media experience. Huge amounts of leads have come from it. Our sales floor right now, 3/4 of the people that are working on our sales floor came from my social media channel. So
that's awesome.
I mean, it's a piece of our business that
way to brand yourself. Yeah, brand yourself, brand your company, brand your business, and also helps you continue to market in another way. I think a lot of times people become shy with social media. They don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to look foolish, but at the end of the day,
no one gives a shit if you look stupid. No one cares.
And if you know what you're talking about, like, and you're showing what you're actually doing, who cares? You know. But I think the value is definitely worth doing. You know, and continue to stay consistent with that.
It is. The first couple of times, like you said, it was a little awkward, but today I've got someone walk around our office videoing, getting it on the internet. We're always sharing what we're doing. And it's also fun. You know, you get to cast a message with a unique skill you have. I hear folks all the time tell me that they're inspired by watching it, they enjoy it, they learn from it. So it is kind of a give and take. I get something back out of it, and I also get quite a bit out of, or give quite a bit there too.
Yeah, and I think that's really where the win is, right? Because when you're able to help people, guide them, lead them, they value that and they want to reciprocate. Like, man, you helped me. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
And that's that win-win type of relationship that you can actually build, you know. And I think that's something to keep doing. So keep it going, because I value it too. I'm like, what does Logan got, man? I'm like, I need to tap into one of these warehouses. Let me see if I can find one of those deals for him. But no, it's good stuff, and I like to see you keep it going. But so to wrap this up, I want to ask you, you know, if you had to give some advice to young Logan, your best advice you can give to yourself. This could be something that would help somebody out there that's maybe in that situation. What would be your best advice to the younger version of yourself on this journey, looking for a way? Show me how to get to point B.
You know, Carlos, this is what I would tell me and every other guy out there. It's going to be okay. Do the best you can. Keep your head up. Pay attention. Keep on trucking. You're going to be just fine. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of nerves and fear along the way. And I'd always hoped to get where I'm at today. And I just, until you're there, you're not totally sure if it's going to happen. But when it starts to happen, you realize it's a reality. And it would have been nice to have somebody along the way reminding me of those things. So for that reason, I tell folks in my office that. I tell new hires, I tell my business partners, I tell my kids, and I tell my wife all the time, we're going to be fine. We're going to get there. It's going to be okay. Hang tight, stick with it. I say those things all day long.
Right on. And what would you tell yourself not to do?
Don't do drugs.
Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, kids. They are.
Absolutely. You know, and I think that's very important. You know, people have habits, and sometimes those habits turn into addictions, and you have to be mindful of them. So definitely one of those things to constantly be aware of.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you, Logan. That's a wrap for the show. Thank you for being here, and man, can't wait to, you know, getting this in front of everybody to see.
It's always a pleasure.